A very good morning to one and all present here for today's session. Today is the first day of a certificate course on Entrepreneurship Program, which is organized by the Institute Innovation Council of Vivekanand Education Society's College of Pharmacy, that is VESCOP. The vision of our institute is to create competent pharmacy professionals who can positively impact the healthcare of the society. And in alignment with this vision, the Innovation Council of VESCOP was established to inspire, encourage, and nurture innovator mindset among our students right from their formative years. Because innovation and entrepreneurial spirit is such an essential component for any nation's development and growth, therefore, consistent with our vision, we have planned and organized this certificate course on Entrepreneurship Program, which will start from today and the last day will be 26th December. This would have not been possible without the tremendous support and encouragement that we always receive from our principal madam, Dr. Supriya Shidhare, our trustee in charge, Shri Bulani sir, Professor Jharna Das madam, and our mentor, Anil Gandhi sir, who constantly guide and motivate us. Before we begin with the program, I would request our respected principal ma'am to say a few words and share her thoughts with us.
Hello, very good morning, one and all. Welcome our today's speaker, Ruchi Singh. Thank you, Dr. Brinal, for your kind opening remarks. And your every word was so much meaningful. It is talking about our vision, it is talking about our dreams, and all our dreams, vision, mission, everything is focused at development of our students, and we want to develop them in various ways. Few of them would like to take a career in the industry. We have some kind of exposures to them with the help of which they can identify what are their strength areas, what are their inclinations, and they can pursue career in which direction and in what way they are going to get the fulfillment. But then of late we have realized that instead of, not just a traditional conventional job profile or taking up a job in the industry, but also pursuing entrepreneurship as a career could be a very great opportunity for our students. Now, is it that I ask somebody to become entrepreneur so he or she becomes entrepreneur? Not so. All said and done, entrepreneurs are not inborn. You can actually develop their skills, but with little initial initiative from your end is required. A little a dream is required, which a big dream, I can say, which keeps on motivating you to move into that direction. Now, for dreaming big and to dream about what and why this particular dream can be very much important in your career, and how what kind of efforts are required to fulfill the dreams, all these questions are important. So we thought of, you all know we have a Institutions Innovation Council, and this IIC Council has taken a very nice initiative of developing this particular certificate program for our budding professionals who probably would wish to take up entrepreneurship as their career path. So our institution is now gradually trying to create that culture of innovation, and we are trying to now very actively nurture our students to become tomorrow's entrepreneurs. So for that, this particular ecosystem is required, advisors required, and your own senior students who jumped into this particular passion of becoming entrepreneur. They pursued this big dream to become an entrepreneur, and who started following their dream passionately. Such students are there with us. We are very fortunate that we have such students, and one of the very dynamic students is there with us today, Ruchi Singh, and I'm very proud to introduce her informally. Formally, our anchor would definitely introduce her. She studied her graduation, post graduation at VS College of Pharmacy. While doing her graduation, I always found her to be very much attached to the institute, very much involved in the institution's development, and so it goes without saying that she was a very active part of students council, and she was taking part in every small activity of the institution to make our institution great. Okay, so there itself we identified that this girl is very dynamic, and really wants to achieve what is there in her mind. Then later on she pursued her post graduation at our institution, and there also we could see her creativity and innovative mindset, creative and innovative mindset. So there was a thought that this girl is definitely going to have her own setup because of her passion for professing to have something. And then probably she got the environment also, and then she decided to, because I think for a couple of years she had gone to the IIT to do her small project work, and then definitely she got the uh, roots to go ahead, and now she has her own company, Cerelia Nutritech. So that itself becomes a case study for us. A student who didn't have much of kind of business background, but who had dream in her mind, and she decided to just jump into it, take some risk, and move ahead with that passion and lot of confidence that what I wish I can do. And these new things helped her to have her own company. And I'm sure this company is going to become a very big enterprise in future. And I have this wish. And I'm sure this her dream also will be fulfilled because she also has a very strong background. The thing is that we are going to introduce few such people to you through this program who right from their graduation, pharmacy graduation stage or their undergraduation stage, they started taking small steps towards their dream of becoming entrepreneur. They got good some opportunities. They made best out of those opportunities, and today they have either their startup or their own company. So this is very much possible. And in fact, day before yesterday, I read in the newspaper, the demand in pharmacy program is suddenly increased. Suddenly, I mean, it is gradually increasing, but this is on the rise day by day, year by year. And this is because of pharmacy profession gives us a lot of opportunities. If you want to wish your career in industry, that's possible. Or you can pursue a lot of research, and you can also have your career as an entrepreneur. So I think this is really a true sense of professional course, and there are a lot of things that you can do while doing your graduation, post graduation, and later. So we have to be really proud that we are in the right profession, and also I should say the right institute, because our institute wants to groom you to become a confident entrepreneur. So I really thank all the organizers of this program, Dr. Gandhi, Dr. Mishta, Dr. Anita, and the entire entrepreneurship cell or institutions innovation council to design this program. And I'm sure, dear students, it is going to really encourage you to become the entrepreneur. It is going to develop that confidence among you to become a successful entrepreneur. It's a 4 weeks program, and we have wonderful speakers who are going to exchange or share their experience with you. So I'm wishing you all the best, and those of you who have a dream to become the entrepreneur, I just wish all the best to your journey, and I'm sure you are good. Thank you very much. Over to you, Rita.
Thank you, ma'am. That was truly motivating. And now, as we begin with our first session, I'll introduce to you our speaker for this session, who is our very own alumni, Miss Ruchi Singh. Ruchi is the founder and chief technology officer at Cerelia Nutritech Private Limited. She is also a founder at Relicus Healthcare Private Limited. Her startup is recognized as top 500 deep tech startups by the Hello Tomorrow Global Summit, which was held in France in 2019. She was also awarded the Starterpreneur of the Year award by CII Global Business Forum in 2018. Ruchi has been a lifelong learner. Her quest for learning and training others is never ending. She is also pursuing a PhD from Delhi Pharmaceutical Sciences and Research University, and she conducts several training sessions to promote innovation in young minds. Ruchi, we thank you for accepting our request to be a speaker for this session, and I'm sure our students are going to learn many things today. Before we begin with this, I have few announcements. Whatever questions you will have during the session, please write it in the chat box and we'll take it up at the end of the session. And post the session, there will be a feedback link which will be shared in the chat box. All are requested to please fill the same. So with that, I'm done with the announcement and it's over to you, Ruchi.
Thank you, Breenal, for the warm welcome. Thank you, Supriya ma'am, for your introduction. It's such a privilege for me, and I'm very happy and excited to be speaking for my alma mater. And all I want today is at least one person, if they get inspired by my journey, one person in the one of the students, I'll be more than happy. Uh, so. Uh, so today, when Dr. Anita she asked me to talk, I was wondering what do I talk. So I just want to keep this session very practical. It will be based on my experience. And what I have learned practically, how I did things and where I failed, where I got success. So it will be all about that, and I'll be happy to take up questions. So I'll just quickly share my presentation. So I, like Madam mentioned, Supriya ma'am also mentioned, I was always a very curious and I would add confused student. So when I completed my graduation, I also had this question, what next? Now, most of us have this two options, either you go for an MBA or you go for MPharm. For me, with me, the problem was I was interested in research. I was pretty good technically. And also, like ma'am mentioned, I was very active. So I also wanted to explore the MBA and the managerial part of it. Now, to add to the confusion, I qualified both GPAT as well as CAT and CT. So, but then finally, somehow, for good, I decided that I'll go with the more comfortable path, and I took up MPharm from Westpop because Westpop was always like home to me, and I somehow did not never wanted to leave Westpop. So here I was, because I was getting this stipend, to be very frank, that was the only reason why, like one of the reasons why I took MPharm, apart from the reason that I never wanted to leave Westpop. So I started doing my MPharm in Westpop. Now, when I started doing MPharm, I wanted to do a project which was meaningful, which had some potential for for making an impact, some potential for commercialization. And with ma'am, so ma'am shared us this one advertisement for one of the grants through BIRAS, which was shared to her by one of the trustees, and me. So along with Chaitali, my senior, she was my senior. She was also doing her PhD under Supriya ma'am. So we decided that we'll write for this grant, and so one fresh master's student, one fresh master's student freshly into her PhD, and I was just a graduate, and ma'am was there. So we wrote this project, and we went out to give our presentation, and to our surprise, we actually got the grant. Though even though it was not, we were not expecting, but then we still got the grant. So that time we worked on anti-cancer formulation, which was probably the in thing, and we thought that it was the thing which had the most important impact on the current healthcare system. So so for this particular grant, me and Chaitali, we had to go to KIIT Bhubaneswar. So it was an incubation center. We were in the biotechnology department. So that was the place wherein I was introduced to all these terms or jargons, as you say, of bio incubator, bio entrepreneurship incubator, startup, seed fund, like so many words. Some of them are still a jargon to me. I'm sure even for you all, these are like words which probably you are aware of, probably you are not aware of. So this KIIT was the place wherein we were exposed to funding. I developed some research skills. I was exposed to the entire world of bio innovation and bio startups, and also we filed a patent, though it was not granted, but then we filed a patent for it. Now, so towards the completion of the project, I had this thing in my mind that I wanted to do something of my own. So I started with this generic pharmaceutical branding and marketing startup, Relicis Healthcare, in I think around February 2016. So I was pretty young and I would say with almost zero experience, with just the excitement to do something on our own and do something which is new. So I started with Relicis Healthcare, um, which I would call is a failure. Which I would definitely call as a failure. The reason being, maybe I started it too early, but then obviously it was for good. So there are certain mistakes that I did in my first startup, which was so I started it with two of my very close friends. We had very good rapport of work, I would say, but we did not have a proper founders agreement. We were not very well aware about what legal challenges could take place. Then there was this issue of trademark. Now, when we were into marketing and branding of generic pharmaceuticals, and trademark is the most important thing. So we came up with like around 11 products we had launched in the market, and out of that, we went to the entire branding and marketing of it without even filing a trademark. And mid of the process, we realized that okay, we need to file a trademark. And when we filed those 13, 14 trademarks, more than half of them were rejected. Also, we had no we had no experience in how to handle your supply chain. So, and also, I was naive enough not to learn how to do it. Obviously, you cannot be born with all the talent in this world, but then you can definitely learn and upskill yourself. Then there is this one thing which is called as unit economics. Unit economics is something wherein your cost of your individual product, at what cost are you going to sell one individual unit? So we made major mistake in calculating that, and because of that, even though we were thinking the margins were pretty high, but they were not. The other thing which I lacked was I had this major issue of micromanagement. So especially in Westcop, people would know, and I don't feel any shame to admitting it. So I had this major issue of micromanagement wherein I wanted to do everything. Even when I was in the students' council or probably when I was working as a faculty in Westcop, I wanted to do everything on my own. I wanted to be be a part of everything. Now this micromanagement is humanly impossible. It's absolutely impossible. You cannot be doing everything on your own. You have to delegate work to people, and they do wonders. Now, the most major mistake what we did was failure to pivot. So there was this one time in around 2016 end wherein around 350 generic combinations were banned by the CDSCO. So three, four of our formulations were part of those 350 combinations which were banned. Now we had a huge stock which had to be sold, but they are banned now. Now what to do? And we had put up all the money that we had saved. So so finally, the right thing to do was would have been just leave the products which are banned and just start afresh, start with a new one. But then we did not do it. So the major mistake was failure to pivot, and most of these startups where they fail is when they do not take that decision on the right time, when to stop working on the one which they are already working and change. They realize it too late that the thing on which they are working is actually not really needed for the market. So my learning what I had was have the right co-founders, because startup journey is a difficult one. It's an extremely difficult one. No one, so your family is there, your friends will be there, your partner will be there to help you out with it. But then the co-founders, they'll be living the journey with you. And it's extremely important to have the right co-founder. It's okay. It's absolutely okay if they are not your friends. But then it is very important that the vision what you are working has to be the same. So in my first startup, the co-founders, the three of us, we did not have the same vision. So probably one person was working just for money, the other person had some other dream. So we did not have the same vision and mission. So it's very important because if you have the once you have the right co-founders, your journey, I won't say it becomes a cakewalk, but then it becomes relatively easier and the chances of success are higher. The other thing, so we were going overboard on all the operation costs. So keep the operation cost as low as possible. Obviously, this is more of a personal learning, and once you actually step into the journey of a startup, you will realize what exactly this operation cost is. Then my micromanagement problem. So don't do everything by yourself. Empower others. Trust your employees. Trust your co-founders. Trust your interns. Because in a startup, for probably say a year or something, you will have interns. You will not have full-time paid employees. So trust them, empower them. What one thing I have learned is if you trust people and empower them, give them the entire freedom to do things on their own, they do wonders. Now, again, so when we started our first startup, we probably started for money. We did not have a purpose behind starting. So always don't start for money because if you're starting for money, you will get tired. Now, the money does not come for 3, 4, 5, 6 years. Probably, so I'm talking about pharmaceutical startups, which take time to shoot up. So don't start for money. Have a purpose because if you have a purpose to start, unless and until that purpose is fulfilled, you will not get tired. The other part was if for my first startup, I was looking for people who are cheap, freshers, or even part-time employees. So so you definitely can have such people, but then you have these one or two key people who you are paying well and are good talent. So scout for good talent and invest in hiring well. Because if you invest in hiring good people, even though you're paying upfront, you're paying good amount of money for their salary. But then the kind of work they will be doing will be priceless. Also, so for a conventional business, you can sell. But then for a startup, you just can't sell. You have to sell a story. So from story, there has to be a story behind your product, why you are getting into the market, why is your product important, why they need your product. So you need to make the customer realize why they need the product. You have to create a story behind it. Also, most important thing is you're not going to get success outright. Probably your first few years will be failure, definitely. So don't fear failure, just embrace it. So with the learning from my failure from my first startup, we started with a new company, Cerelia Nutritech. So this is completely different from what we were doing earlier. So Cerelia Nutritech is an IP-based startup wherein we are into hardcore research and formulation development. So we have developed certain technologies and we are trying to commercialize these technologies. So since you realize that you must have realized since we are developing a technology and trying to commercialize it, it's a long process. So we have a patent which was recently granted. The Indian patent was granted, and the US and Australia patent is published. So what exactly we do is we have a technology wherein we are trying to deliver micronutrients through skin. So these are transdermal micronutrients in the form of a cream. So 1 in 3 people among people who are attending this webinar are deficient in one or the other form of vitamin. The major vitamin deficiencies are B12, D, iron, folic acid. And so these vitamins, they also have pretty low oral bioavailability. Say, for example, if you read any capsule insert of vitamin B12, you'll see that they mention somewhere, sometimes it's even as high as 1200% of the RDA. RDA is the required daily amount. So this extra is why, so the extra is to compensate for the loss due to either stability issues or also due to the low oral bioavailability. So we wanted to develop something which the women would love to use rather than being compelled to use. And pregnant women are the ones who are at the most vulnerable to such sort of deficiencies. So how exactly did we come up with this product is, so my co-founder Kiran, he was undergoing this fellowship, social innovation and immersion fellowship. It's an excellent fellowship for people who want to work something in the healthcare plus the social sector. It's an excellent fellowship. You get around 18 months with seed money and a fixed amount of salary for these 18 months. It's under BIRAC. So there in the fellowship, he was in the so in the rural districts of Odisha. There was an immersion program, and so we jotted down some 150 odd problems. The call that time was for maternal and child health. So we tried to figure out. So there were 150 odd problems in the healthcare sector. What a mother was, pregnant woman or mother was facing. Now, when we tried to link all these problems, what we realized was the root cause of all these problems was something very simple, which is malnutrition. Now, now we say that the government, if you know the statistics, government every year they spend close to 26,000 crores on various nutrition initiatives. It might be in the form of free folic acid iron supplements, or it's in food fortification, free ration supply. But then still, the adherence rate is very poor. So as per WHO, the adherence is barely 30 to 33%. Now we try to figure out what is the reason that this adherence is so low. So simple reasons. So women do not like taking tablets, especially in the rural area due to patriarchy. What happens is the sometimes what happens, these supplements, the nutrition supplements, are consumed by the woman's husband or mother-in-law, but the daughter-in-law or the pregnant lady does not get the supplements. Other things, in rural areas especially, they have this stigma that so if you take iron tablets, the stool that you get is somewhat darker in color. So people believe there, if a woman is consuming iron capsule or tablet, the baby that would be born will be darker in skin color. And considering how obsessed we are with fair skin in India, uh, so the mother-in-law and the husband were not allowing the lady to consume these tablets. So we thought that okay, let's develop something which will completely bypass the oral route, and also so along with this social stigma associated with nutrition supplements, we also let's make something which is technically sound plus something which the women would love to use. So that's why we have come up with this moisturizing cream with these nutrients which are delivered transdermally. So now a product for this type of product, it requires a lot of time for development and plus money. So for initially around 6 to 7 months, we were working on our own. We were working on Desktop was supportive enough to give us. So I was working as an assistant professor there. So in the free time post the working hours or before that, I used to use the lab and develop the prototypes there. And then so with our own money and some money from the fellowship of Kiran Fellowship, we developed a proof of concept. We did a small animal study, and we proved that okay, this concept is working. And so that's how we got our first grant, which is Pfizer IIT Delhi Innovation and IT Program. So we always think that if you want to get into R&D, from where will you get all the money? So I would say I would say that money is available, grants are available, private investments are available. You should just have the right intent, go with the right idea, talk to people, and you will definitely be able to achieve what you wish to. So, so now the startup culture is, even that time it was growing, but then now it's pretty common. So in 2016, we always had this notion that unless and until you are from IIT or IIM, getting a funding is extremely difficult. And it was kind of difficult. So I remember for one of our, so we applied for multiple grants, multiple fundings. We did not crack them all, obviously. So after say around 6, 7 rejected application, Pfizer was the first one we got. And post that, with that money, we developed more proof of concept, more data, and 2, 3 more followed. So we always, so for selling, like we always feel that IIT, IIM, unless you are from IIT, IIM, IAST, it's difficult to get a grant. It might be difficult to get a grant, but then there are people out there who do understand the good work that you're doing. If you're genuinely doing a good work. So that's what happened with us. So again, there was this fun advertisement in newspaper about Pfizer IIT Delhi Innovation and IT program. We applied for it. We were called for presentation. So they have this thing wherein you have to be inside IIT Delhi to avail this grant. Now, so getting inside IIT Delhi was not difficult because they have an incubator and you can easily access them. And since we were selected through this program, it was easy. But then for getting into the incubator, you need to have some mentor who's a faculty from IIT Delhi. So we were lucky enough that during our presentation for this program, Dr. Veena Kaul, who is the head of biomedical engineering, she happened to be present for the presentation and she really liked the idea and she was ready to mentor us. So we are very lucky that in the early stages of our startup, we got very good mentors who are still with us and are still guiding us in our day-to-day activities. Suppose this Pfizer IIT Delhi grant, we got Grant Challenges India, which is through Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and implemented by BIRAC. And also we got this foreign funding, which is Grant Challenges Canada, which is through the Canadian Queen. Also, so we are technical people. We know our science, we know our formulation development. But then what we don't know is legalities. We don't know how to form a business plan. So for this also you don't need to worry because there are multiple fellowships and accelerator programs for free, I would say. So you don't even have to worry about paying for these programs. If your idea is good, you apply with your idea and you get into these fellowships and accelerator programs for free. So these are two such fellowships that I underwent. There's this V Foundation, Women Entrepreneurship, and I'm sorry, I'm not remembering the full form. So I think Women Entrepreneurship and Empowerment. So this is very good if any female out here who's listening to me is willing to who wants to start her own startup, or even if you are one of the female co-founders. This is an amazing fellowship. It is conducted by this V Foundation in association with DSP, and earlier it was only with IIT Delhi. But then a good news for you all is that now they have classes even in IIT Bombay and I think a few more other places. So it's an excellent fellowship. It's like a mini MBA. I would call it a mini MBA wherein you have to first go through the program, go through the selection process. You get selected. There were around 30 to 35 women entrepreneurs, a batch of 30, 35. They call all industry experts, startup experts, venture capitalists, investors, legal people to help you understand how to go about with your startup. So it's an excellent program unfortunately it's only for women, but I would definitely suggest women co-founders out there who are willing to start. And the best part here is you don't even need to have a running startup. Even if you just have an idea, no need to have a registered company as well. Even if you just have an idea, you apply, and if they feel that your idea is worth nurturing, they would definitely get you in. There is this another one by Texas University IC Square Institute, which is again like a mini MBA program. So this was more on the international front of it. So throughout my journey, a lot of times I feel that I should have taken up a job. So in these 5, 6 years, I would have earned good amount of money. But then when I look back, the kind of things that I have learned and the kind of opportunities that I have got, I would have probably never got so early in my job career. So we have represented India in Finland and Paris at different forums. um, I got a chance to speak at CII event wherein we were awarded the Startuppreneur of the Year award. So there was this one very prestigious event for social entrepreneurs, Tata Social Enterprise Challenge, which happens in IIM Kolkata. It has been an amazing roller coaster ride, but then the kind of things you get to learn is beyond. what you can learn in the classroom or beyond what you can learn in a job. So this is actually our old lab what we had set up in IIT Delhi, and that's my super amazing team. Um, so when we initially started, we started with just one product, but then now we have a portfolio. So this is not an updated one, but so now we have a portfolio of around 9 products under development. We have most of them are proved in animals, and we were supposed to start with our clinical trial, but then because of the COVID situation, it's on hold. So one important thing, like ma'am mentioned, no one is a born entrepreneur. You have to upgrade your skills. So definitely, I always thank myself because I was ready to upgrade my skills. So when you are running a startup, when you want to start something from the scratch, you have to learn everything. So probably I would have taken up a job in formulation. I would be stuck to formulation. I would know only things in and around formulation development. But then now since I have to run a startup, I know about regulatory, I know about GMP, GLP, I know about marketing, taxes. Taxes, no one teaches us taxes. But then I had to teach myself taxes. You take multiple courses online, or you visit these, talk to people, or the fellowships, or the accelerator programs that we have taken up, finances, IPR. So always I would suggest, if you want to, if you are willing, even if you're not interested in starting your own startup, you still upgrade your skills, because unless and until you read about something, you know about something, you would never know whether you want to get into it or not. So that's my super amazing team. Kiran, Deepthi, and Nikhil are my co-founders. Dr. Veena Kaul and Dr. Ganzam Bulia, these are our mentors who mentor us on various aspects. So in the past 4 5 years, we have got around 18, yeah, I think around 16 or 18 different awards at international and national forums. So this is about my journey. Just a second. Okay, so this is about my journey. Dr. Anita also wanted me to talk about from idea generation to implementation. So do we have any questions here, or maybe we can move ahead?
There are no questions posted as of now. So in case anyone is having any questions, please let us know. You can write it in the chat box. We'll take it up for the discussion.
Sure, yeah. So when we talk about idea generation to implementation, I'll probably not. So there's a lot of literature available. If you do a simple Google search, you'll find a lot of literature available on this topic. But then I do not really want to talk the bookish knowledge of how to generate an idea and all. Probably I'll divide a life cycle of a startup in different phases, and I'll tell you at what stage probably you can do what. So here we'll divide the startup into three startup development phase into three: pre-startup, startup, and growth. So your pre-startup stage is your ideation stage, wherein you are just at the beginning. Okay, you get some idea clicks, and you're like, okay, I can make a company out of it. So here you are developing your concept. You probably go and talk to a few friends and see if they would want to work with you together. So you're forming the team. You are defining what could be the mission and vision of your startup. So this ideation phase is, I would say, the most important phase of your startup journey, because here you will define what problem you are going to solve. Now, the best way to see what problem you're going to solve is see whether you're actually facing the problem yourself. So unless and until you feel the intensity of the problem, you will probably not be able to come up with a very nice, very strong solution. The best way would be either you are facing the problem yourself, or someone in the near vicinity is facing the problem. The other way for ideation or defining what the problem you are trying to solve is, so maybe you can, there are these fellowships. So there's a Stanford India Bio Fellowship. Then there is this SIIT fellowship. So these fellowships are specially curated for healthcare startups, wherein you get from 18 months to 2 years, 2 year period, and you will be put through this entire immersion program wherein you can find out, talk to people. They train you how to form an idea. So look for such type of fellowships. There are multiple fellowships available abroad as well. Now, once you have an idea, you already also have to check whether the idea is already there. Is some company already selling this type of an idea? Now, that's absolutely okay if the idea is already there. So these startups are called as Me Too startups. So, for example, Uber was already there in the West. Ola came up. Now, Ola and Uber, they practically work on the same model, but then both of them are making good money. So both of them are pretty, so keeping aside the losses that they are facing, but then they're both are doing pretty well. Now, so these Me Too startups, it's absolutely okay if your idea or there is something you want to work on which is already available in the market. But then make sure that the demand is such high that one single company will not be able to do it alone. So that is important. Also, what another thing is important is even if you're going for a Me Too startup, see whether you can do any value addition to something that is already available in the market. Next is, so a lot of times what we think that, okay, I have this idea and this is an amazing idea. Everyone needs this. We do forget that there are people, real customers out there probably might not need what you are making. So no one feels that, no mother will feel that her child is ugly. They always feel my child is the most beautiful child in the earth, on the earth. So talk to people, talk to real customers before you actually start with your startup journey, and see if the idea is actually needed, if the product that you are developing or the service that you are giving is actually needed by the customers. Now, this ideation phase is extremely important for finding your team. I already spoke about co-founders, so again, I'll just quickly say that it's okay if they're not your friends, but then it's very important that you have the same vision and mission. The other thing is, like I mentioned, you cannot have all the skills which is required to run a startup or to develop that particular product. So see, if you have the domain specific knowledge. Now, if you do not have that domain specific knowledge, uh, it's according to me, if this is a personal opinion, it might be a bad idea to work on that particular product or service. The reason being, so say if today I get an idea for amazing idea for developing a software. So if I have good amount of money to hire software engineers, that's okay. But if I do not have money to hire software engineers and I want to develop it wherein I have zero expertise or zero knowledge in software development, it is going to cost me a lot of time and I might not really have that much amount of money. So see if you or your co-founders have that type of domain expertise, then only burn your hand into some product or service. Also, at the ideation phase, it's very important to realize why do you want to start this company. Money will definitely be one of the reasons, but then is not good enough reason to start your own startup. You have to have a broader vision. So, now, like again, I mentioned earlier, if you have a vision, if you have a purpose for starting the company, you will go a long way. Otherwise, you do get tired. So that's what happened with my first startup because probably we started only for money. We got tired and we were like, okay, fine. But then for this Cerelia, even though it's even a higher, very taxing process, it's a very long process. I do lose patience at times. But then again, when that vision why we are starting this company comes in front of us, we are back on track within seconds. Then make a business plan at this stage. Now, you being students at your pre-startup or ideation phase, who are the people that can help you in your journey? So that time, these competitions were not that common, but then now you're lucky that every college has their innovation cell, every college has a entrepreneurship cell. So look for startup competitions of good colleges, look for ideathons, look for hackathons. So I'm not sure if you all know what hackathons are. So hackathons are these are sometimes even 2, 3, 4 days long events wherein they have a central theme surrounding a particular problem, and people are made to form teams. You are there at the venue for 2 3 days, and you form teams and you come up with solutions. So these are excellent places to find ideas, to find your co-founders. Very nice places. So very nice thing. So hackathons you should definitely. Now say you have your idea, you want to develop a prototype. So you would need seed fund. So now where the seed fund would come for? It's not necessary that at this small stage you need to have big money and you have to go to investors or grants or whatever. You can either, it could be your parents who are funding you a very small amount of money, few thousands, or it could be some friend, some senior, some faculty member, or you could actually go and look for institutional investors, depending on at what stage the idea is. Also, incubators are extremely helpful in ideation phase, because a lot of incubators, if you go to them with your idea and if they like your idea, they would even give you a certain amount of initial starting fund. So check out what incubators are available. And nowadays, one good thing is incubators are very idea specific or domain specific. So you have incubators specific for healthcare, incubators specific for pharma, incubators specific for IT. So see where your idea falls and go to such incubators. And once you go to the incubators, you will be open upping a lot of doors and lot of opportunities. Also look for mentors at your ideation stage. So these mentors could be anyone, someone from the industry who you trust, some maybe your faculty members or your fellow entrepreneurs, someone who's already into the startup or is working in the similar. But then be very careful when you're choosing your mentors. So a lot of mentors, they do not come for free. Okay. So, but initially, at the initial stages of your startup, it's very difficult for a company, a startup, or when you're just in the ideation phase, to pay for mentors. So, someone who really wants you to succeed will definitely not ask you for money at the initial stages. So, look for mentors who have the right intent, and if you have the capacity to pay them, well and good. But if not, just be away from greedy mentors. Look for people who are genuinely willing to help you and will contribute to your journey. So this is about the ideation phase. Next is when you're in the startup phase, as in now you have your idea, you know, okay, I want to work on XYZ product. Next comes your proof of concept or your validation stage. So at this startup phase will be where you're forming your company. So you're legally registering your company. Now there are different types of companies, company structure, one person company, private limited, LLP, or OPC, LLP, one per. So there are multiple company structures out there. Now you need to decide which company structure will be best suited for your business idea. So there are ways how you can learn about them, read about them. You can start learning about them outright now. Then this is the phase where you're forming your MVP. MVP is minimum viable product. Now, what is this minimum viable product? So MVP is something therein which has a look and feel, and if you go to your customer with that MVP, it might not be the final product, but then the customer would know, okay, fine, you're going to build this. So at the startup phase, you build your MVP. Then also this will be the phase wherein so maybe probably you started only with you and your co-founder. I won't call friend, but I won't call him or her a friend, but I'll call him a co-founder. So you start with your co-founder, but then now you want the company is growing. It's in the startup phase, so you would need more people. Also, once you're done with your MVP, or even for making your MVP, you would need funds. So you're fundraising. Then once you have your MVP ready, minimum viable product ready, you will probably try to get one or two free customers. Good if you get paid ones, but maybe you will have to start with free customers who are ready to try your product. So in your startup phase, it's very important that you're committed towards the cause, because ideation phase is very exciting. It's extremely exciting because it's all on paper, and you get this big dream that okay, I'll be a startup founder now. But then when you are actually implementing and when the difficult part comes into picture, a lot of people give up. So commitment is something which is extremely important. Also, like I mentioned, everyone feels that their baby is the most beautiful baby. No one feels that their baby is ugly. So, so this is the phase wherein you talk to people and you refine your product. It's very important to take feedback from industry experts, feedback from end customers. Best would be feedback from end customers. And depending on that, you refine. So, say for example, we did this for a good 2 years, I would say. We initially started up with a patch, but then what we realized was patches, they are not, it's very difficult to make them unseen. It will be visible. Even if you apply it someplace which is below the clothes, it's still very uncomfortable and it's expensive. The base patch itself is pretty expensive. So then we had to let go the idea of patches. Then we started with a gel. The gel was something which was not very acceptable by the customers. Then we came up with a lotion and then cream, and then we made multiple types of creams, and finally we had to settle down on one based on the customer feedback. So refinement is extremely important. Now, also, a lot of times what happens is you have a business plan, but then is that business plan a sustainable one? So if you are into startup news, you see that a lot of startups, they were growing, but they were into losses. That's because the business plan was not sustainable enough. So for us, if I give you the example, we are into product development. So nothing will be sellable for at least 5 to 7 years till we complete the animal clinical trial, and so there are phases of clinical trial, then the regulatory submissions. So nothing will be sellable till then. Now, so in order to make our business plan sustainable, you do have funds definitely, but then the funds which are coming are exhaustible. So you need to have something which is going to give you revenue. So we started consulting. We started developing products, small products for other small startups, somewhere in the cosmetic domain, which does not require a lot of legality, but then it still gives you money. So you need to develop a sustainable business plan. Also, this will be the phase wherein you need to define your company culture, and definitely the validation part wherein you are talking to customer and the end user and trying to figure out if your the product or service that you have developed is something which is actually needed. Now, who can help you at this startup phase? Again, incubators, never leave them. Very, very important for any innovative startup. So right from funding to opening the right channel for investment to uh, linking you, connecting you to the right mentors, to customers, a lot of times incubators would help you. Then is your accelerator. Accelerator is somewhat above incubator. So incubator will handhold you at the starting. Accelerators would come into picture wherein you have some little bit of revenue. There are some customers on board. So read about these things. What are incubators? What are accelerators? Find out which accelerators, incubators would be helpful for you. And obviously the customers would be most important. Now, when you're looking for money, at the startup phase, you can go for angel investors. Now, what are these angel investors? Now, why they're called angel investors, one thing is because they come early in the startup phase, early in your business cycle. And uh, so generally, they do not expect a lot of return. And since and most of the angel investors, they just don't invest money, but then they also handhold you all. So look for angel investors, find out what these angel investors are. There are very specific angel investors who invest into a specific type of company, because they have their domain expertise and they are interested only in investing in these specific type of companies. Or also you could bootstrap. Bootstrapping is when you're not taking money from outside, but then say you're starting when you are 35, 40. So you have worked for 10, 15 years and you have saved good amount of chunk and you are investing that money in your startup. So either you could bootstrap or you could look for angel investors. Now next stage is your growth phase or the scaling of your business. So earlier you had a few customers, now the customer base is growing. You have processes in place, you have optimization, of the processes. It's more now it's running on a pilot scale, autopilot mode, wherein so unless and until you want to do any major changes, the business is running. The conversion rate of your customers is pretty high. You have a scaling mechanism in place. So at this particular stage, so this is probably something not really required for you all, but then I'll just quickly go through it. So at this particular stage, what you would do, you'll tap into new market. So say you had two, three products and one or two services. Now you will increase the number of products and services. You will look for more funds which are higher in amount. So like you read in billions and millions of dollars, so that you can scale at a faster rate. Also, you will come up with new strategies for marketing and sales so that there is growth. So at this particular stage, a lot of startups invest into infrastructure growth. Earlier, at the initial stages, infrastructure is very expensive. So generally, people do not invest in infrastructure growth. So, so at this stage again, you will be fundraising with institutional investors, venture capitalists or private equity investment. You'll add new services. Accelerators will be very important. So there are excellent international accelerators which you can check out and know about them. So even if you have not yet reached this stage, but then if you know that okay, one day I want to, when I reach this particular stage in my startup, I want this particular accelerator to help me out. So there's this one very famous accelerator, Y Combinator, which is like on top list of every tech startup on earth. So everyone has a dream to be taken up by a combinator accelerator. So look for such accelerators wherein you would want to go, because once you get that door open, multiple opportunities are open for you. So the startup journey, even though it seems like a it is definitely an exciting one, but it's definitely not easy. What you plan and what the reality will definitely be different. So, but then it's a lovely journey. What you will learn will be priceless. And anytime, so I won't call myself successful right now. There is still a lot of things to be done. But I have this assurity that even though, say in 2-3 years, if I feel that I'm not, the startup is not going anywhere, I'm not reaching the heights what I wanted to, I can anytime get a better job than what I would have if I was just in the corporate culture. Because the kind of exposure you get, the kind of skills that you develop is beyond any beyond what you could have developed when you were into a specific job. So I would say, and being young when you are just like 23, 24, 25, it's a good time to start because you are young, you are enthusiastic, you have all the energy in this world. Plus, you don't have to worry about the financial responsibility plus the family responsibility. So, and once you are into the job for like around 5-10 years, and you have that habit of getting salary on first or second of every month, you will be very uncomfortable. Most of people are very uncomfortable. So I would suggest start young. You have nothing to lose, but also there's no too soon or no too late. Even if you want to start at 55, 60, I met a very interesting uncle in one of the startup events. He was 68. He was 68 and he started with his startup that time. He was into a job. He retired from that job and then he continuing. He was doing something and then at 68 he decided that he wanted to work on his own startup. Also, I have met a girl who was 17 in one of the fellowships. She was 17 and she was working on her own startup. So it's never too early or never too late to start. Or I would say, if you have a gut feeling, if you have an idea and you want to see it to be real, if you want to see making it real, go for it and just trust your instincts and go for it. Yeah, that's all I would want to say. Thank you. For any questions, queries, my email ID is there on the screen. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Ruchi. That was so interesting and such an informative session. And definitely, I think our students are going to get inspired by that. So we will take up the questions now. All those who have questions, please, you can post it in the chat box. We'll take it up for discussion now.
Okay,
Okay,
so
in the meantime,
yeah.
yeah. Okay, in the meantime, Ruchi, I do have a question that when they talk about startup, people could have different ideas. So somebody who wants to work on something like packaging or, nutraceutical, something of that sort, how would the challenges differ from when we talk about the core pharmaceutical products?
So see, when you have a core pharmaceutical product, we all know the legalities, the regulatory requirements are pretty stringent. So the more stringent the regulatory requirement, the longer the process would be time wise. Plus, you'll have to stick to a lot of compliances and money, obviously, because more number of compliances, more will be the money. So when you have something more in the cosmetic domain or in the nutraceutical domain, there the compliances are pretty low. There are compliances and it should be followed. But then as compared to a hardcore pharmaceutical product, the compliances are pretty low. So it's I won't say it's easy, but then it's easier as compared to a hardcore pharmaceutical product. Yeah.
Okay. And you
So
also mentioned about, yeah. Yes, yes.
So for our product, it, even though it looks like nutraceutical, but then it won't fall under nutraceutical. It is not under FSS AI. It has to be under
Okay.
CDSCO. So for FSS AI, it is you have to be it has to be something which is ingested. So only oral things qualify for FSS AI license. Ours is transdermal, even though it is nutrient, but it's transdermal, so it qualify for uh, does not qualify for a nutraceutical product. Yeah, you had something else, please.
Yes, we have a question from Pradnya ma'am. So it
Yeah.
is which you feel is the biggest milestone in your journey?
Biggest milestone. I don't know. I can't think of actually one or two. But then I would say one thing is when I got my first animal trial data, which was positive. So we got a lot of negative data also. So I would say the first positive animal trial data, which was done by a third party agency, because obviously it is validated then. So when I got my first validated animal trial data, that was I think one milestone, because then I thought, okay, fine. In lab you're getting results, but then outside an animal also this is showing trials. And the other was so recently our patent got granted. So it's my first patent which is granted. Earlier also we had filed for the patent, but it was not granted. This was the second patent which I filed got granted. So I think that was a milestone for me. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I have one more question. You mentioned about angel investors. So in the future, if our students, have to think about a startup, then how do they approach? How do they find out who is an angel investor? What are the steps that they should take?
Okay. So I would suggest if you have zero idea, go to incubators. Go to incubators. They will guide you well. The second thing what you can do is keep watching for various startup events and competitions that happen. So these angel investors are or venture capital or these investment firms. They are a lot of time jury of these startup competitions. So a lot of times you get offer, so you won't get an outright offer. Okay, wow, your idea is nice. I'm going to give you $1 million. No, it doesn't happen that way. But then at least you are seen, and they will strike a conversation, and you'll take ahead. They'll take ahead the conversation. So for us also, a lot of times we have been spotted by a few investment firms. So we take the conversation ahead. We have presentations. They always don't get converted, but then you definitely get some feedback. So one thing, incubators. Second thing is look for startup competitions. There are certain websites probably I can share with one of you all later, and you can share it with students. So there are certain websites which I keep a watch to look
Okay.
for what are the funding options available, what are the competitions going on, something that sort of. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much, Ruchi. So we do not have any more questions posted. So thank you once again. And it was really a very nice and motivating session. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. So before we move to the next session, I just have a quick announcements. We have shared the link in the chat box. Please fill in that link for the attendance as well as for the feedback. And whatever questions you will have for the session, we are starting with next, please post your questions in the chat box. We are starting with the second session. So for the next session, our speaker is Mr. Sushant Raorane, sir. Mr. Sushant Raorane is the founder and director of Adroit. His key focus areas include sales and marketing. He holds a bachelor's degree in pharmacy and has done his MBA in marketing. Sushant sir has proven marketing management track record and he has over 15 years of experience. And prior to his entrepreneurial debut, he worked with several reputed companies like Elder, MCure, Piramal, Abbott Healthcare, and he's an eminent marketer. He has worked in diverse therapy areas like dermatology, gynecology, cardiology. He has also received many awards and recognitions, including the one at Indian Business Leadership Conclave and the one organized by Pharma Leadership Summit. He was also awarded the Emerging Entrepreneur Award at Ashwamedh. And it is indeed a great pleasure that we have him over here for our session today. So thank you so much, sir, for accepting our request and being here with us to guide our students today. Thank you once again, and over to you, sir. Sir, excuse me, sir, we cannot hear you. You're not audible, sir. No, sir. No, sir, we cannot hear. Yeah, sir. Sir, you are not muted. Hello? Uh, yeah, sir, I'll just check the issues, the technical issues at our end. Please stay tuned. We are having some technical glitches. We'll be back in a minute or two. Click on the link which is posted in the chat box. Please fill in the attendance and feedback. All the students are requested to do the needful. No, sir, we can't hear you.
Yeah, because Pratik sir was going to call.
We can't hear you, Sushant sir.
We can't hear you, sir.
No, sir, we can't hear you. Could you try login from your mobile phone if you can? If you can try login from your mobile phone on the same link that you have joined from your laptop.
Due to technical glitch, there is a delay, but we will be back in the next 5 minutes.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, now we can hear you, sir.
Oh,
Yes.
great. Finally. Okay. I don't know what's happening on the screen. So if you can, because now I moved from a big screen to a small screen. So you will have to really help me out. I don't know what's happening on the screen.
That's okay. That's okay. So we are back, everyone. And as I've introduced, we have our next speaker, Mr. Sushant Raorane, sir. He's an innovator come entrepreneur, and he's also the founder director of Adroit. So over to you, sir. Please continue with the
Yeah,
session.
but sorry, I'm not able to see myself on the screen. I don't know what's happening there. So if you could just help me figure
Yes,
out.
sir.
Okay, fine. I think that's better. I can see
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. Okay, sir.
Okay. So, yeah, thank you, Brunel, for that wonderful introduction. And my apologies. Life is all about surprises, and that's what we just encountered. I was all set to be there on with you with all mics and everything tested, but last minute when I went on air, uh, it has really not, I could not get the seamless entry into the StreamYard. However, life is full of surprises, and that's how holds true for an entrepreneur. As an entrepreneur, you keep thinking, planning about a lot of things, but at the end moment, you're thrown with surprise, and that's basically the quality of an entrepreneur to fix the problem as it comes up and find a solution for it. Brinal, can you mute yourself, please? I can hear a lot of bird chirping at the back end. Yeah, thank you very much. Yes. So that's how it is. Life is full of surprises, and an entrepreneur is basically meant to solve those challenges. So I wanted to thank Supriya Madam and Westcop team for giving me this opportunity to interact with this wonderful group of students. But when you're online and it's a one-way communication, it's like shooting in the dark. Okay. And that is a little bit of discomfort for me. However, what I'm going to do today is I don't have a set structured presentation to give you because I don't believe on giving just textbookish knowledge. But yes, what I would love to do is I would like to share with you my experience in my entrepreneurial journey. And I think that is something which is very, very important and is going to be relevant from your perspective. The title that I'm going to talk today is My Story, Life of an Entrepreneur. And broadly, what I'm going to touch upon the pointers is opportunity that you might encounter being an entrepreneur. Risk taking as one of the important key attribute and attribute for an entrepreneur. Critical thinking that one has to follow while you are an entrepreneur. And then also I'll just try and touch upon few pointers on how to build your team. One of the important aspect which you would like to know is how to raise capital for your business. And finally, learn from failure. So this is in general what I'm going to talk in today's session. I believe I have around 1 hour for this discussion. So what I'll do is I will talk for maybe 30 to 45 minutes. I'll start with my story. And then thereafter 15 minutes, I would really want each one of you to ask question, clarify your doubts. Okay. Because if you want to be an entrepreneur, the biggest quality is you should be pro. You should be really looking out for an opportunity to interact with people who have been entrepreneur, who have succeeded as an entrepreneur, who have failed as an entrepreneur. Learning from failure is something very, very important. If you look at in today's scenario, India as a country is growing. We are talking about building up a $3 trillion economy and then gradually moving out to a 5 trillion economy. So, what really will help us in achieving this dream of a country? And I strongly believe it is entrepreneurship. If you really compare ourselves vis-a-vis the Western world, what will differentiate us is we have got all the brains, everything, but we don't have that risk-taking ability. And that is something which is something a negative, a big, big negative for us. Because if you are not really going to take a risk, it is definitely not going to help you earn rewards. Higher the risk, higher the rewards we have known all this while. But it is going to be very, very important and relevant that we know we should be taking risk. Okay, so that is something which is very, very important. Now let me go back and start sharing you my story, because we were really, really instrumental in taking a risk at the early in the life cycle. So To start with, I did my pharmacy from Bharati Vidyapeeth College of Pharmacy, affiliated to the Mumbai University, and that's where Professor Supriya Shide was our teacher. We also had Rajeshri ma'am who was teaching us. So I'm a proud student of there. And from there, I did my MBA, and then I entered into the corporate world. While I was working, always at the back of the mind, I had this belief that at some point of time, I would be venturing into my own setup. And that's where, this particular thing was going at the back of my mind. So I was very eagerly and, carefully working on all my assignments. I was trying to get as much as experience and exposure to feel confident about starting my own venture. And this is something very, very important. So rule number one, I'll just keep talking about, my experience and what are the critical pointers that I feel that which are very, very important and relevant for an entrepreneur. So rule number one, if you want to be an entrepreneur, you should have the relevant experience and exposure. What do we mean by experience? Experience is the domain that you want to play around. Ruchi also mentioned that if you want to have a startup, it is important that the first startup that at least you're getting into, you try and have a startup in the area which is of your core domain. That doesn't mean or that doesn't restrict you from having a startup into a diversified area. Okay, so you can very well get started in different segments, but if you are into core domain, you have those relevant experience, people, you have those connects. So if at all you have some problem, you can look out for the resources who will come and guide you. Exposure is very, very important. Exposure will help you, have a problem solving approach, and in turn, basically, build up a ecosystem which will be helpful in setting up your venture. Okay. So in today's area, if you look at, the biggest assets are created by entrepreneur. Okay. I would like to give you a few examples which you might relate to, and you will see that these are the people who have started in, say, last 5 to 10 years of life cycle of their business and have really made big. You would have heard about this edutech platform called Byju's. Okay, Byju's today is $11 billion company. Okay, a edutech company turning out into $11 billion in just matter of few years. I would say in matter of 5 to 7 years. All this while we thought about coaching classes is all about having a room, putting up benches, desk, a tutor coming and talking to you. That's about coaching, right? That was the definition of coaching which we always learned and which we have experienced all our life. But today, very smartly, what Baiju Ravindran did, he created that classroom or the coaching system into a technology-based platform which can experience from any corner of the world, and one content can reach to millions and billions of people in one go. That's the beauty of having a tech-based platform. Now, if I look at the wealth of Byju's, in January 2020, Baiju was valued at around $8 billion. In September 2020, the value went up to $11 billion. Boss, what are we talking about? $8 billion to $11 billion in matter of few months? How is this possible? Now, this is something which each one of us have to really think about and really have to look out. What is the opportunity that Baiju was looking at? Today, if you look at the Baiju as a case study, they practically have got all the best of their equity funds backing them up. You have got KKR, you've got Blackstone, Sanders Capital, and then all the big capital across the globe coming and talking and investing into Baiju's business. And that's what really builds up the value from $8 billion to $11 billion from January 2020 to September 2020. Now, this is what entrepreneurship is all about. Opportunities. Opportunities. Now, if I have to tap onto those opportunities, how am I going to do it? First and basic thing, identify the problem, offer them a unique and innovative solution. Mark my words, innovative. Innovative solution is something very, very much important and relevant. Why you have to be innovative? Because if you're not going to be innovative, you're going to be one of those millions of people who have an idea, who probably have also identified a problem and are trying to trying to give them a solution. But if the solution is not going to be an innovative, take it from me, it's going to fizzle it out there and there itself. When there is one problem, you have multiple people around it to come and help you solve this problem with the solution. But if your solution is not innovative, you're not going to achieve anything out of it. Now let's come back to the Byju's example and let me explain you what I mean about the innovative solution. So there is definitely, the problem is there are students are wanting to have, a faculty or teacher who can help them understand the concepts, the study, okay, in a very simplified and in an easy manner, right? That's a problem which the student is. Am I there? Hello? Yeah. Okay,
Yes, sir, you're
sorry.
there.
Yeah. So the problem is there's a need for coaching classes, and the solution what everybody is offering is basically coaching classes which are there at every nook and corner of the city. But what differently this problem was solved by Byju's is he created a tech-based platform. What he did is he got the best of the teachers. He utilized technology to explain the concept in a very, very simplified manner that an average or below average student can also understand it. Okay. And because of this tech-based platform, he was able to offer a scale. Secondly, he got a reach, exponential reach. And because of this reach that he got in number of students that are there on the platform, he is able to command that kind of a valuation sheer because of reach. Okay, so that's the opportunity which we're talking about. Now there are everybody feels that we have multiple opportunity. Which opportunity to back? That is very, very important. Coming back to our example where we started, okay, we felt like when I was doing my was staying with Piramal Elder, I happened to meet my friend Ajit, who happens to be my maturant. So both of us, he came up with this idea that let's come and do something on our own. And that's where we really kind of, that's where he motivated me to get started. So we started as a digital marketing company. When we started as a digital marketing company, we felt that, there is going to be a very limited opportunity for us because beyond the value of beyond 3 crores, 4 crores of revenue, I was not really able to see future for the organization. And that's where we decided that this is a time where we should graduate from being a medical marketing consultancy firm into a full-fledged pharmaceutical company because we had everything ready with us. We are serving the best of the pharma companies. We have strategic solutions for all the problems. So that's how we graduated from a medical marketing consultancy firm into a full-fledged pharmaceutical company. We started off with a team size of around 20 people. We were covering a couple of geographies. We were present in Maharashtra, we were present in Andhra and Karnataka. So these 3 geographies we started, and we tried to check our proof of concept. Very soon we realized that we are doing extremely, extremely well. Okay, so we started launching new and innovative products. So if you ask me, what really helped us build a startup from zero to say a gross revenue of around 50 crores in matter of 7 years is basically an innovative range of product. Now, innovative range of product is what again I was talking about. Innovation is going to be key towards success of the organization. So here, as a pharmaceutical company, I'm sure each one of you will understand that it takes tremendous amount of capital to get a new molecule in the country. More so, even if you're successful in getting those molecules into the country, you'll find it really, really difficult to kind of scale it up and develop brand out of it, which will give you actually the revenue and then the valuation of the organization. So when we very well knew that these are the limitations that we might be encountering on our journey. So what we did is we identified few set of gaps in the market. One of the biggest market which we found is quite relevant and there's tremendous growth potential is basically the vitamin C market. So we launched a high dose of vitamin C. We just tried to look at what are the scope of improvement and negotiations that improvement and scope of innovation that we can do. So all this while you would have heard about Limsi, which is being a chewable tablet, you have to pop in a pill and basically get the benefits of vitamin C for your body. So from there we tried to position vitamin C for skin because dermatology and cosmetology is something where we are very active upon. So we launched this product into the cosmetic segment. We got a bolus dose of vitamin C. So from those boring pills or the chewable tablets that you might have to take in, what we did is we moved to an interesting concept of offering a tangy drink. So we developed this nice big effervescent range of product. Okay, so all that you have to do is take 200 ml of water and drop in a pill, and it turns out to a nice tangy tasty drink. So that's how we launched Energy in collaboration with a Swiss company, and tried to make it really big. So today, after a gap of in 3 years of since the launch, in 3 years of time, I'm proud to share that we happen to be the third largest player in the vitamin C segment. So we could fight with the giants of Abbott and the GSK, Limsi and Cellen, which is now taken over by Koi. Okay, so after Abbott and GSK, Adroit happens to be the third largest segment in the vitamin C market. Now, this we could do because of product innovation. So this is something which I'm strongly talking about, that innovation is going to be key for scaling up your business. Once you are innovative, you will be able to tap in this opportunity, which will be very, very relevant for your set of business. That was one example of yeah. Second example, what we've thought about and where we launched a product is glutathione. Okay, glutathione is basically a master antioxidant. This is a product which is basically used for overall antioxidant. Initially, the product was launched for liver cirrhosis. Okay, but later on, there was a serendipitous discovery which was found that when you take glutathione, you basically start to lighten your skin. So we took this as a key advantage. Okay, we got in collaboration with a Japanese company called Kwahako. They have this brand called Cerelia. Cerelia happens to be the global leader of glutathione. So we knew very well that we will not be able to get that kind of a product. So what we did, we tied up with Kwahako. We got this global glutathione source called Cerelia Glutathione into the country. We launched our own private label brand called Glutone. And today I'm happy to share that we are #1 player of glutathione in the country. We have built up a brand of almost 25 crores in a matter of 3 years. Okay, so this is possible. How? Innovation. So innovation is going to be key. Okay, now one of the most important aspect which is driving the growth of Adroit per se, if I have to talk about, and which I strongly believe, is you should have innovative range of product. At the same time, you should have a tech base to back the product. Today, without technology platform, friends, we will not be able to do anything and everything. Anything for a business will not be able to build up a scalable and sustainable business model. So technology is something which is very, very important. If you have a good product backed up with a technology platform, take it from me, you can be the next Byju's of the country. Okay, you can actually compete with any brand. You talk about all the, like, just look at your life. You get up in the morning, you have your Fitbit or the Apple Watch that you're using. Okay, you go for walking. This again kind of counts your activity, every single activity that you do for the day. So technology. Okay, you have your breakfast, you move out of the house, you call for either Ola or the Uber. Again, use your mobile, a technology-based platform to reach out to your office. You come to your office, you do your work, you want to order for your lunch. You go to Swiggy or Zomato, place your order, right? So if you look at right from beginning, from the start of your day, if I continue towards the end of the day, every single point you will see that there is something or the other technology-based activity you're doing it. You're conducting your Zoom meetings, again, a technology is over there. So without technology, friends, you cannot do anything. Your idea might be great, but for idea to scale, for you to unleash the opportunity, you need to have a tech-based platform to ensure that you have those relevant reach. So that is about opportunity. Now, talking a little bit about risk-taking ability. Okay, friends, without risk, there is no reward. Okay, you have to barter or trade off something or the other for achieving something. right? So if you want to be an entrepreneur, the first thing that you have to trade off and give away is basically the comfort of having salary on first of month, the paycheck that you get, because that gives a lot of confidence, right? That gives a lot of security that yes, I'm secured. Whether I work, whether I don't work, probably might impact my KRAs, probably might impact my increment for the end of the year. But I'm assured that at least by end of the day, I will have that paycheck. If you if you are kind of having that kind of a mindset or emotional quotient that I need to be secure, you'll never be an entrepreneur. So most important thing is, if you're convinced about your idea, if you really want to be an entrepreneur, you should have a risk-taking ability. That doesn't mean that you go all out, bet everything, every fortune that you have with you, and take a risk at it. No, you can really have a proper risk mitigation plan. Okay, you can always build up an action plan wherein you know that this is how I'm going to pan up my venture. These are the potential risks that is going to happen in the journey. You should be in position to mitigate or hedge that risk. You look at all successful entrepreneurs, they have a risk mitigation plan. And this is my biggest learning that I have in my entrepreneurial journey. During the scale up process, we have taken tremendous amount of risk. Myself and my partner Ajit, we went to an extent where we had to mortgage our houses to raise capital. That's the height of risk or the element of risk that we have taken in our entrepreneurial journey. Now you would tell, maybe you might be thinking whether that is required every time that you have to be an entrepreneur, you have to mortgage your house. No. Probably we were very passionate. Probably we had a very deep conviction on our idea. And that really gave us that strength that yes, this is a stopgap arrangement. Probably the bank is asking for a collateral, and this is what I can offer as a collateral to raise the fund. And that's what we did. So very, very confident about the business that we're into. So that's the risk-taking ability, okay? But later on in our life cycle, we did realize that we could have tried other options as well. But that also happens. You have to pay price for every learning, right? So we have to do that. So that's a risk-taking ability which we want to talk about. Now, you look at, you on one hand, you have opportunity. On other hand, I spoke about the risk-taking ability. Now, opportunity and risk-taking ability. If I have to kind of, marry both these things together and I have to kind of build up my venture around it, what is going to be very, very important is a critical thinking on the business plan. Many of us faulted to do so. Okay. Ruchi ji did mention that she is into formulation development, and she is looking at a time span of almost 7 years to establish the proof of her concept. I was like, I was having a little bit of jittery around it, because 7 years no revenue is something I was very, very much zapped about. How is the business going to be scalable? How am I going to support the business for 7 years is something which I was thinking to myself. So as an entrepreneur, one of the most important quality that you should possess is critical thinking. Now, all of us know, all of us do think, but how many of us have really thought about what to think? That is very, very important. As an entrepreneur, you should have this unique ability or the thought process of having a critical thinking. Okay. So what to think is also very important to think. You have multiple opportunities. Probably you might get carried away with those opportunities coming your way. But ultimately, there should be something, some self-discipline, some thought process, some critical thinking element where you should know where to start and where to stop. And unless and until you have this unique ability to plug and play whenever it is required, you will probably might not be able to take the right set of decisions which you might have to take as an entrepreneur. So that is very, very important. I'll just quote you. So with a relevant example of Adroit per se, I'm not going to really talk about Adroit and what we did, because, you might read through my story on yourstory.com. Okay, they had covered my story where, my entire entrepreneurial journey is there. Okay, you can also look at the bold. They have also covered up our story of an entrepreneur. Okay, so there we can talk about. But here, what I'm going to talk about is the topics which are given to me, and I'm just trying to give my life experiences. I want to share my hands-on experiences and hands-on experiences which I've gathered around the journey. So, example of this critical thinking, which I could probably relate, okay, to what we did is way back in 2015, 16. We were trying to go for fundraise. Initially, when we launched the organization, we thought that with a budget of around 2 to 3 crores, we should be able to set up our empire. Things went wrong again and again and again, especially on the estimates of the financials. Okay, so we thought 2 crores, okay, 2 crores, we could not achieve our objective. We went up to 4 crores. We went up to 6 crores. Okay, at 4 crores, we went to the bank. We raised around 3 crores from the bank, so went up to 9 crores. 9 crores, and then finally we had to raise. When we were at this junction, where the business already we had invested 9 crores, and we were looking at getting a next round of funding. That's where we had many opportunities, because by then Adroit was a brand which was almost, we were clocking a revenue of around 10, 11 crores. We were not positive in terms of EBITDA, 4 years of life cycle, but we had not really made money then. So when we were at this junction of raising the next set of getting the next set of investor on board, there were multiple opportunities. There were HNIs who were really looking at backing it up. We had few vendors who were thinking of investing in the company, and the valuation was also great. At one point of time, when we were there, at one point of time, we were at a junction where we had a really lucrative buyout offer from one of the major pharmaceutical company. And that offer was so lucrative that, if we had exited by at that point of time, we probably would have got good amount of money. But then we thought, we have not played our game yet. We have not really achieved our objectives. We have not really, realized the vision with which we started up the organization. And that point of time, we decided to forego that offer. We got our existing, our investor, Mr. Samir Paingankar, who happens to be one of the stalwarts in the industry. He was on board of directors of Glenmark. He was a perfect strategic fit for us. As an entrepreneur, we wanted, somebody who has played this game, made it successful, to be there with us. And at that point of time, we forgot all the investors that we had, and we got Samir on board. And friends, let me tell you, today, I feel that's the best decision which me and Ajit we took. We got this unique strategic investor on board who really value added, who shared his experience and exposure. And then, why I speak so much about experience and exposure, later on when we had Samir on board, we had many brainstorming sessions, we had many critical thinking sessions. At that point of time, he said, Sushant, you guys are doing really good. You have got a great set of product. You have got everything right. But what is your limitation at this point of time is you have a limited experience and exposure. By that, what he meant was, see, I was at the middle level of management working for a multinational company. So my focus area was only around marketing and sales. But for you to run a business, you are an entrepreneur. Who has to take decision of every single functional element of the organization. So as an entrepreneur, I should be a good decision maker in my core, maybe marketing, sales, product development, financials, maybe identifying the right set of business associates, partners, supply chain, HR, legalities. And honestly speaking, when we started organization with me and Ajit, we were 29, 27, 28. Okay. At the age of 30, we launched Adroit Biomed. So 30 years with a limited set of experience and exposure, we got into this exercise. But this is something which is very, very relevant. And since then, I've been talking a lot on experience and exposure, because I'm totally convinced that you need to have a right set of ecosystem around you to facilitate your aspiration. And if you are able to do it properly, I think that really adds in a great amount of value to the organization. So that was in a bit about critical thinking and why it is very, very important to decide what to think and how to build up a kind of, a game plan around those critical thinking, how to build up a strategic lever around here. Many people or many entrepreneurs today are not really able to do it. And that's the sad part of the story. Okay. If you ask any entrepreneur, what was your last month PNL? I'll tell you, 75 to 80% of the people will not really able to tell you whether they book profit or they book loss. I'm not talking about the quantum value. I'm talking about whether they book profit or loss is not known to many of the entrepreneurs. Now, if that is going to be the case, how are you going to run the business? Because ultimately you're into business for making profit, right? Is to add value to the shareholders and the stakeholders which are associated with you. So this is something which is very, very important and we have to have. I understand as an entrepreneur, it's not easy to have overall domain knowledge, but domain knowledge can always be built up. And this brings me to the second point that I want to talk about, which is how to build up your team. Okay. How to build up a team is a very, very interesting question. As an entrepreneur, you always feel that you're Superman. Okay, I had that feeling that I am a Superman. I could do anything and everything. I could probably handle a query from a sales tax officer. I could probably sort all the developmental challenges. I could probably resolve all the HR issues, honestly speaking. And unless and until you have that kind of a feeling that you can solve all those issues and challenges which you might be thrown to, I'm sure you will not be able to do that. You have to have that kind of a confidence that you can resolve it. However, you should have a team to support those issues and challenges which might keep coming in time and again. In early phase of life cycle, as an entrepreneur, I'm sure you will have to get your hands dirty with the game that you're playing in, because that will give you great amount of confidence from where you can get started. But gradually, when you want to scale up your operation, okay, whether you want to when you want to build up what do you say, a venture which can be sustainable and scalable, you have to have a team. The next mantra that I would like to give you is, as an entrepreneur, always be in your business. Okay, or don't be in your business. Sorry, my bad. Don't be in your business. Be on the business. But what do I mean by on the business? Have overview of all the business elements. Okay, if you happen to be in the business, friends, you will develop many blind spots which you might not be able to see, and that might end up into some kind of a challenge which probably at some point of time you yourself will become hindrance towards the growth of the organization. So it is very, very important to be on the business. But on the business means you should know exactly what you're supposed to do, right? You should have figures, you should have updated knowledge of every single business element that functional department of your business. Okay, so that is very, very important. Okay, build up a team, have a proper structure. Now, this is what building up a proper structure, proper team really helped us have a scalable growth. Our CAGR for last 3 years is almost 40-45%, and that is something which has really helped us achieve a quick growth pace. Now, this we could happen only when we had a proper structure. So today we look at Adroit as a company has a proper corporate structure, wherein we have, like, I'm there who takes care of day-to-day operations. Then I have multiple teams, finance team, HR, sales manager. We have GM marketing and sales, senior finance manager, supply chain manager, HR manager. So we have kind of diversified into every single element. Okay, we have the best of the professionals on board to audit our books, because that is something which is really, really required in. So when you start a business, identify milestones, and when you achieve those milestones, please try and please try and get please try and get the necessary resources. Remember one thing: once you build up the team, this team is basically going to help you achieve your vision, your goal, scale, everything. So don't be a one-man army. At those point of time where you achieve those milestones, please create structure. Structure is very, very important for the organization. Okay, now structure one is organization structure in terms of the structural team that you might have in. At the same time, one of the critical element that I would like to tell you as an entrepreneur is, I'm sure you might by now that as there are various business to a LLP to a private limited. So you define and decide what you want to achieve. Accordingly, you try and build up ecosystem around it. You try and create a structure around it. Okay, and this structure is also very, very important. One of the most important structure is, say for example, you're forming a private limited company. When you start, please get your shareholding understanding with all your core founding member of the team, promoters of the organization. And once you have got this, get a shareholder agreement done. Now, this was one of the biggest mistake which we have kind of committed, because we went out of passion to set up the organization. But at some point of time, we realized that it is very important that whatever agreements that you have with all the shareholders should be documented black and white. Okay, get the document registered, because this will serve as a, what do you say, a piece of paper which all of you can revisit when there is difference of opinion, principal difference of opinion with respect to business. So this is something which is very, very important, which I would strongly suggest while you're building up the team. Have in mind this important element of business structuring. Okay, the next part, which I was supposed to talk about, was how to raise capital. Now, friends, I have a mixed opinion about it. Capital, at some point of time, that's one of the most easiest commodity that would be available to you, provided you have the right set of business model with you. If you have a right set of business model, then definitely, you would get those capital as and when it is required. However, if you don't have a right set of infrastructure or story around you, it will be very, very difficult to raise capital. Okay. Initial funding will definitely come to you via your friends, family, friends. Okay, somebody whom you who knows you very well. 99% of the time, the investor invests on the entrepreneur. He never invests on the business. Okay. So if you're thinking of raising a capital, make sure you're worthy of it. Because if you're not going to be worthy of it, you're not going to be, nobody's going to back you up. Adroit phase one, the phase one capital that we wanted, we got it from one of our friend. Okay, he was very much convinced about our idea, our philosophy, so he thought of backing us up. Okay, so that's where the early round of capital came to us. Okay, when we had reached a sizable amount, and when we had our books, the balance sheet and everything in place, it was not rosy, honestly speaking. But we had some credentials to go and approach the bank. So we went to the bank. Again, the bank invested on, I would say, and I proudly say, invested on Sushant Raorane and Ajit Marathi. Bank thought us worthy of it. They always believed that our intent was right. To an extent, I've got very, very high regards for Bank of Maharashtra, because these are the guys who supported us. The branch that we banked and the managers, the senior management at Bank of Maharashtra had supported us wholeheartedly. Okay, and I've got very high regards for them because they believed on us. We were running through a tough time, but yes, bank came to our rescue, and that's where the bank supported us. And the phase three that Adroit raised capital was through a strategic investment agreement with HNI team. So now we have a investor from UK and the HNI team around in India who have done it. The next round of funding that as a company we would like to go for is the equity funding. So this is how, at every stage of career, every stage of life cycle of your business, you will have various people to back you up. Okay, but friends, it's not going to be easy. Getting money, hard-earned money of somebody to invest onto, it's not going to be easy. At the same time, I would tell this: if you have a story to tell, if your proof of concept is established, you will have multiple investors approaching you. Today, I take great pride that there are multiple investment banking companies and equity funds who are approaching us. Okay, because we have made our case so strong, our story strong, that today people feel that this is a company which can be scaled up to the next level. And every level you will require capital. Without funds, you will not be able to do what I'm talking about. Having a proper structured organization, it's going to be very, very difficult. Okay. So at every point of time you will have, but if your case is strong, I can assure you guys, getting funds will not be difficult. That's the most easiest thing you have. And this I'm talking with great amount of responsibility and conviction after being a hands-on entrepreneur for 10 years, having lived the journey, having seen the crest and trough through my life cycle. Today, with greater amount of conviction, I can say that if you have a story, there is an investor waiting for you. Just to quote an example over here, which will help you open the equity market, help you understand the equity market. During this lockdown, you know for sure everybody, like the US faced huge amount of crisis. Indian economy went downwards. Every economy went downwards. As a result, the Western countries, the US economy, they have pumped in huge amount of dollars. Dollars are printed today, right? What to do with those dollars? They're looking out for assets for investment. And that's the entry point which they're going to get into the country via this investment banking companies, the equity funds. Today, the likes of KKRs and the Blackstones and Sequoia, Samara Capital, every single fund which is coming out from various international market, they have funds. They're looking out for assets for investment. Okay. Just I go back to my Byju's example. Why I'm talking about Byju's? Because $8 billion to $11 billion valuation in a matter of almost 6-8 months, not kids play. But it is possible. It is possible. Today, every fund has to give return on investment, right? Return on capital, as they call it. How it's going to happen? By investment in some startup, because startup is one of the area where the fund can be multiplied very quickly. You just have to have the right set of idea, right set of proof of concept to be in place. And if you have got everything, it is going to be possible, right? Now, this is how the financial game is going to be spanning out for you. But if this was so rosy, if this was so good to be true, why 90% of startups fail in 5 years of operations? Right? If the journey is so good, okay, why do startup fail? In today's scenario, in first 5 years, you Google out and you will see this right up top of there. 90% of startup close their operations in 5 years. 65% of startup close their operation in first 1 or 2 years of their operations. Why? Because maybe greater extent, the entrepreneur is responsible for it. Maybe he was too bullish about his idea. Maybe he never had this plan ready. Some extent he might not have been passionate. Some extent he was not he was kind of not persuasive enough to believe on his idea. Okay, fundamentally the thought process might be wrong. N number of reasons to lead you towards your failure. But there would be few reasons to make you successful. So learning from failure and handling failure is very, very important. In our journey of being an entrepreneur, we have had many failures. The first failure I told you, my estimate was 2 crores. We ended up investing totally up to 11 crores to set up the organization. So just look at the kind of gap. Okay, so that was the first failure. I could not estimate the financials correctly. Probably that was my blind spot. Probably I was not having a relevant experience for that, and that led to that. But we came up with the idea. Problem solving, persuasion, passion really helped us. We could fight it out, right? So failure is integral part of your entrepreneurial journey. Most important thing is never repeat the learnings that you have from your failures. This is very important. You will fail multiple amount of times. Even today, we have almost 20 brands with 40 odd SKUs. Maybe our 7-8 SKUs are doing really well. We have 3-4 brands which are doing well. Other brands we could not succeed in. Okay, so that's a part and parcel. You understand, you learn through your journey. And at some point of time, I feel that if you are able to, and you should list down your failures. Okay, speak to your friends, have your mentor, and Speak out your heart, talk to them about your challenges, and handling failure is also an art. Okay, try and master that art. Be emotionally strong towards the problems that you might be facing in, and try and there is a solution for every problem, provided you accept the problem and you build up a solution for it. Okay, so that's what I just wanted to talk. I think I have taken almost 1 hour to talk. I was supposed to talk for 45 minutes, but yes, from here let's get started with the question. If you've got any particular point that you want me to elaborate or talk about, I will be happy to do that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Sushant. It was really interesting, and definitely our students have learned a lot from the session today. So you shared your experience, and it was really nice. We do have certain questions which are being posted here, and we'll take it up. So first
Okay.
question is by Pratik Barve sir, our own faculty member. So the
Okay.
question is, who was your most important support motivation system during your entrepreneurial journey? And any
Okay.
specific pointers to the budding B Farm students, to mold themselves if they wish to become an entrepreneur?
Great. Okay. So most important support system and motivation system. I'll take this separately. Support system was my family. You know, when we decided, when I decided to move out of my corporate job and get started on my own, my family supported. Honestly speaking, I was earning quite a decent amount of money at that point of time. At the age of 27, I would have been the youngest marketing manager in a company like Abbott. I was all set to travel one of the most secured life. Okay, but then I decided to be an entrepreneur, and then the first and the biggest thing that was that the solution that I wanted was in terms of financial liabilities. How do I manage the financial liabilities? And that's where my wife really supported me. My wife was working, and she really helped me in taking care. She shouldered the responsibility of finances. My father was working. He also supported me in terms of financials. So that was a part of the planned journey that we have gotten. The first next 3 to 4 years of time, probably I will not be earning what I was earning before. So there might be a little bit of financial management which has to be done in. So this support was done by my family. My in-laws also supported me, because we had me and my wife, we were blessed with a son at that point of time. So there were a lot of things. So, they took care of my son, and while my wife was working. So, the entire family was a big, big support system. And I would also suggest that for me, especially Ajit, my partner, he was also big support system in this journey, because we were like buddies. We had a lot of tough patches in the journey, and we were a big support system to each other. In terms of motivation, it was basically, I would say, we were self-motivated to a greater extent, because we wanted to do this, we wanted to live this dream, and we were highly motivated. Even if you ask me today, I'm super motivated. The vision is absolutely clear, and that vision drives us. So we don't look at clock. We are our own bosses. So as per our, can you just mute, please? There's a lot of noise. Yeah, thank you. Sorry. Yeah. So self-motivated, and we do have mentors. I look up to Samir as our mentor. I have few mentors in the industry, Mr. Agnolo Rajesh. He's one of the mentor whom I have with whom I keep talking about the challenges as and when it comes in. And yes, you need to bounce off your mind to somebody at some point of time when you have some challenges. So that's about the support and the motivation system that we had during our entrepreneurial journey. Specific pointers to budding B.Pharm student to mold themselves if they wish to be an entrepreneur. I would strongly urge each one of you, please, 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 don't try and take the safe bet of being of going for a job. Uh, go and take a job, but have a specific plan. Today, slowly and gradually, this culture of job security is going out. Last year, if you look at 30% of IIM opted out of placement. And this 30% were the ones who wanted to have their startups. Okay. In today's scenario, if you believe on yourself, I think you should go and you should be an entrepreneur. You might start small. Okay. but nobody can stop you from making the next big venture of your lifetime. Today, if you look at, okay, all the first generation entrepreneurs have done it big in their life. Indian example, you have Bejus, Rohit Agarwal, Oyos, okay. You have the likes of Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk. Look at the fortune that those they have created in their lifetime. 1% of that fortune also you will never be able to make it in your job career or your professional career if you are opting for a job. But this is possible only and only if you believe in yourself. Okay, so if you think you are good, why don't you work for yourself? All that you need is passion and discipline. Okay, so that's my honest submission, and I'm a strong advocate of being an entrepreneur. In fact, a couple of years back, I did a series on being an entrepreneur, which is there on my social media handles. You can have a look at it. Where, on one topic, I've just given a gist about what is my opinion about being an entrepreneur on those relevant topics. And if you really want to be an entrepreneur, there's a book which I loved it. I have read it multiple amount of time, and I would strongly recommend is Your Life, Your Legacy by Roger Hamilton. Please read this book. You will get a lot of insights, a lot of motivation on how entrepreneurs think. Okay, and you have case studies of practically all the leading entrepreneurs who have made big in their lifespan. Yeah, so that was my plan.
Okay. We do not have any other question, but I do have a question. See, mentorship is very important when you are going to start your journey as an entrepreneur.
Absolutely.
Now, many times students may not be able to identify who would be the right mentor if they don't have adequate exposure. So, what would be your suggestion? How to identify the right mentor?
Okay, now how to identify a right mentor? Somebody with whom you are feeling comfortable, a person with whom you can express yourself without having any reservations, person whom you can trust, person who think can value add you, okay, with his words of wisdom. I think he can be an entrepreneur. But the most important thing is trust factor. You should believe on that person, and at the same time, that person also should have some amount of belief in you. Okay, so that's what I would like to talk about. That's my take on your question. Yeah.
There is another one question. I have that question. See, you mentioned about mindset. What I got to know is the mindset. Having the right mindset is also equally important if you have to become a
Absolutely.
successful entrepreneur. But many times it so happens that people who come from an employer family, or those who are employed, a job mentality. So that mindset transition from being an employee to entrepreneur, definitely it will take some effort to change that mindset. So what would you advise as an entrepreneur, because many times students also would be coming from that kind of an environment. So if they have to build up themselves, grow as an entrepreneur, what would you recommend to make that smooth
Yes.
transition?
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, this is something very, very important. You need to have a right set of mindset, because if you believe it, you can do it. That is my a belief, a very, very strong belief. If you believe, definitely you can do it. And almost, 75-80% of us, we come from a typical Maharashtrian, not Maharashtrian, typical middle class family, and around you, you would have never seen any entrepreneur. There was a culture where people used to say, अरे भाई क्यों जॉब कर रहा है, अच्छा नौकरी है, क्यों धंधा कर रहा है, अच्छा नौकरी है ना, just feel comfortable with it. But then if you have a strong belief, I'm sure you can tune your mind towards that, taking that calculated risk. It's all about taking that calculated risk. Now, when you will take that calculated risk, first, when you believe on your idea, if you've got a strong belief and conviction on your idea, then definitely you will start thinking in those direction, right? And then it's all about a logical problem solving methodology that you will have to follow, and this will happen once you start believing it. So it happens here. If you believe, you will definitely do it. Same thing you are doing in a job, right? You're not doing anything different. Only thing is that you have been assigned a specific role and responsibility, and you're confined on that role and responsibility. But when you're on your own, you just broaden that horizon. And once you've broadened your horizon, that at that point of time, you're all set to get started with those ideas. Okay. So then every single thing that you would do in a job, Here, you are doing it for yourself. That's a basic difference between, if you're working for somebody and when you're on the. So it's typically going to be a mindset, and at many a time it does happen. So we get we are bogged down with paisa kahan se aayega, from where I'm going to raise the fund. Okay, as I told you, if you have a strong conviction, then the entire ecosystem will come to you and will try and help you achieve your vision. But first and foremost thing, your ecosystem will test you, will push you to the corner, will try and check your perseverance, patience, and passion. Once it is done, then I'm sure you will be able to find out. And provided, see, there is no room for mediocrity over here. You have to be different. If you're mediocre, okay, if there is no proper business plan, no proper story for your business, 90% you will be failing. 90%. And that's where the risk element comes into play. 90% is a significant number, right? But what is the difference between those 90% of entrepreneurs who close their venture in 5 years versus those 10%, 10% who make big time in their life? Thought process, mindset. Okay. And if you're able to do it, I think it's very much possible. You certainly can do it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for the wonderful session. And we do not have any more questions. So I think there is a lot of clarity on whatever you
Right.
said, definitely. So thank you once again for your time and for sharing your experience with us.
Thank you very much.
And before we
Yeah, thank you very
yeah,
much.
yes.
I hope this session was useful. In case if you have got any doubts, any queries, please feel to get in touch with me. I would be more than happy to answer any queries. Anything where I can value it, I'll be more happy to do so. Thank you very much.
Yes. And before we conclude, we will have a vote of thanks. So now I call upon Dr. Anita Aire ma'am to give a vote of thanks.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of our IIC cell of Westcorp, I would like to propose the vote of thanks. So first and foremost, I would like to thank Sushant sir as well as Ruchi for sparing your time at such a short do very well process of innovation development and her experiences in the same. And Sushant sir, of course, has also given very key insights on his journey in the for being an entrepreneur, the risk associated with it, the opportunities and all. So thank you so much. I would also like to thank our principal ma'am, Dr. Anil Gandhi, Dr. Mushtaq sir, and my entire IIC team for their continuous support and motivation. Of course, I would like to thank our management, Shri Lani ji and Professor Jannata. And last but not the least, I would like to thank all viewers for being patient and for your patient listening. And stay tuned for the coming lecture series. And over to you, Brinal. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. All the viewers, please note that the feedback link will be available in the chat box. Please click and fill in the details. And our next session is planned on 12th December. Please do not miss it. Mark it in your calendar. Thank you once again. Thank you all.